Like in the same place with it. I love it.
Just like the really, that stupid like the face.
What do you think dancing with yourself is, dude? Yeah?
Yeah, it's self-flagellation.
J&O, dude.
So I was talking to Broadshow, and when I come back up here, if you want, I'd be happy to take over some of the editing of just different footage and stuff.
Definitely.
So I'll have, like, I was telling Bradshaw, like, if he says something too cool for school, I want to do a variation of the usual thing, like have the glasses fall down onto him. Then I have like a specific thing to play with it, and like I know
Steal my
exactly
sunshine,
how to time it,
that.
and it'll be perfect. Or if you guys are playing one of the Star Wars games and you're just going on a diatribe about, you know, Luke being on some place and doing something, I'll make a little Photoshop or something, like get that classic image, just dance around, do your like dialogue and act it out.
Yeah, I think that's fun. Oh, sweat. Oh, sweat. Oh, sweat. 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 Have you heard that? That the last thing he says is like, oh, sweat. 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 He just goes crazy. I think I requested that song at Steve's wedding.
Yeah, like my butt.
Got that
Cool.
sleeve.
And his t-shirt.
Very nice. Very cool.
Thanks.
But you haven't watched
I believe a man
any
wanted a
Twin
sleeve.
Peaks.
Yeah,
How much?
10 episodes of the newest one.
See,
It's on like 15
when you
now.
asked like if there was anything specific,
He's only
I
seen
wanted-
the first
you
two.
wanted- I wanted
What?
to bring.
Of the new one.
I definitely could have named.
Oh my god.
We watched,
I could have named something.
we
but I
finished the
could've
original
actually
series
could've, like,
and Firewalk with me around the
They
same
just
surprise.
showed footage of Firewalk with Me in the show
Expecting us to get
in the
to
new
Alador,
season.
or
They referenced it
Not really.
constantly through fucking the seasons.
They actually showed the interaction between Dale and Phil
Yeah.
Jeffries. They did the
Yeah, I was gonna say Bowie.
Because if I just had let you guys like pretty much make the trip right to Elador, we wouldn't have that chance where we got to see like Wainwright tumble out of a tree and that was the noise I made as I was falling. Hitting each branch goes that
Branch, hold on 1 second.
We do gotta get some like animations going of some of our like,
That'd be great.
that'd be really good.
I'm gonna when you fall, I'm gonna use the when I said I'm gonna put the tokens on there, I'm gonna make yours prone.
Wednesday, you said?
Oops.
Make a quick like 90-degree turn.
It's just like bump.
I'm not jealous of you going to Gen Con. I'm just getting.
I
I'm
thought
just
that'd be
jealous
great.
of you getting
Wilson's
the chance to,
explaining,
because
like,
you're
the
gonna
white eyes of the
go to a
creatures.
signing for
You
some
can
of
just
the
like
critical
flash
role,
like
right?
I think so. I
zombie images or something like that. Some sort of like subliminal image of like a monster which is super white eyes.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
For what?
That'd be real cool.
for their live show.
Not for their live show, but they're gonna probably be at Gen Con, like on the floor signing at some point. I would
Yeah.
Is
assume.
the new Plinkett?
Yeah, I'm supposed to.
Ghostbusters? Oh my god, it's my favorite Plinkett review.
It's so good.
It's probably my favorite
I haven't
too.
seen
It's
that
real.
yet.
Coworker
It's such
of
a-
mine was like,
You should watch it, it's great.
He makes some really good points.
Shin-chan for me.
I really,
Well, he's
I just,
so mad at Bill
I want
Murray
to meet
too.
Travis.
yeah,
I want to talk to Travis.
Travis or
Moonstar?
Taliesin, and just be like,
Travis? Travis the
Like,
Moonstar?
Travis to me is just a gem. Like him,
Oh, yeah.
the ideas that he has and how he plays Grog in that show is just perfect.
Ghostbusters
No,
is
or
the
when he's
worst
like-
movie I've ever been to.
But he's just He's so funny.
It is. The whole movie is just them talking and riffing off of everything. It's not like a subtle setup joke punchline.
Or even
His
a
idea
script
of
structure of how
comedy
a story
is
happens.
bad
It's just
improv,
all talking
bad ad libs.
and riffing.
It's just all improv. That sequence when she's like doing Melissa McCarthy, like all the different takes she's doing of the same thing.
Yeah.
She's talking.
And they have interviews with like Chris Hemsworth and Paul Feig where they're saying they would do like 40-minute takes of just them improving. Yeah. I don't.
Who is P?
I think that Melissa McCarthy can be funny when she gives her performance. But to me, it's almost insulting to her that they have this scene with Fat Lady Go Boom. She turns on the proton pack for the first time, it's flying around, and they say, like, she's like a deflated balloon. Like, that's what it is. She's just bouncing around,
That's the joke.
bumping off of
It's
stuff.
a cornerstone of her humor.
Slapstick.
And
She
shouldn't
wants
have
to be.
resort to that because
She,
she can actually be funny with her humor.
Just like
she's
The
trying
delivery
to.
and timing.
She's
It's like Leslie Jones's humor is I'm going to be
Yell.
stereotypical idea of black lady.
Yep, yelling at things. But the Melissa McCarthy, she's trying to like. Bye-bye.
To me,
Because she
it's,
can, because Melissa McCarthy can be funny. But
Yeah.
everything I've seen her in the last 5 years. Is
Oh,
just,
yeah.
I'm a fat lady.
I'll probably just get it digitally.
She is definitely trying to invoke some Chris Farley in everything
Well,
she
that was
does.
like when I was watching, when I went to, I think it was Spider-Man with my mom. They played a trailer for Pitch Perfect 3 or whatever.
Oh my
Okay.
god.
And Rebel Wilson was in there, and I was just like, and my mom's just like, she's like, you think that looks good? And I was like, well, it's just her doing
Being
stereotypical
loud, crass, and Fat Lady
fat
Go
lady
Boom.
humor. Like, it's.
That's all three of those situations. Melissa McCarthy, not Chris Farley, because his physical comedy was more than just a fat person falling down or something like that.
And he didn't need it.
No, he didn't need it.
Also,
But it's what I call Paul Blart syndrome, where the entire movie of Paul Blart is just fat stupid guy go boom, where he falls down.
it was just a
he's
part
falling.
of Farley's humor. It wasn't the cornerstone.
So like the fact that Melissa McCarthy has to be subjected to that in different movies and stuff is just like,
She goes along with it though.
yeah, exactly.
I get mad when I look at
But-
Paul Feig.
Yeah, right.
Paul Feig is.
It's
yeah.
a symptom.
There will be a sequel.
In and of
We're like,
itself.
we don't want it. There will be a sequel.
Paul Feig's got a chip on his shoulder though, dude. He just hates men because he got made fun of in high school as being gay.
He's a man.
He can't get over that.
How's work?
Alright. You look satisfied at all.
Did Rob not show up or?
No, you was on time. Alright. Wasn't that bad. Are these
But-
things recording?
Yeah. Well, I'm doing like a little
Oh,
audio.
You just plugged in.
Oh, yep.
I just want to see if he's going to be included.
No. Why not?
I thought before it got to the corner, it turned back around.
Love this.
What is happening? Are these just baby go karts? Oh shit.
Sean. Need it over?
But did any of you actually see the new Ghostbuster?
Yes.
Did you?
Oh, yeah.
Did you like it when you saw it?
I had no want to see it.
I
The
watched that.
trailers. I'm like, I see nothing good in the trailers, and trailers are usually supposed to be
This is
the hits of the movie.
just to give you a little bit of reference about when I watched that movie. That's when I was playing No Man's Sky. So I had that realization about that game, and when I took my first big break from a 4 or 6 hour like play session of that game and started realizing what it was, I thought, all right, I'm in a space mindset. Let's try watching Star Trek Beyond. And I popped that on, and that movie is just so boring. It couldn't care, so I shut it off because I did not care about what was happening on the screen at all. And then thought, oh, here's Ghostbusters. I guess I'll watch that. And that it was Ghostbusters. So it was like 3 failures in a row. That was my entire night.
After I saw the Bill Murray get blasted out of the window, I was like, all right, he honestly didn't give a shit about his role in this movie. Why should I give a shit about this movie?
He sits down in like both of the scenes that he's in.
Yeah.
One's behind the news desk, and the other one he just finds the chair immediately in the room. Is like, yes. Now what were you saying? Like,
Right.
I
like
just can sit on my ass and let this all happen.
I feel like Bill Murray was holding out for an actual like sequel, like him and all the other guys.
He was the
Oh,
only
so
one that
he
was
was the only
being
one that
the
didn't want
the
it.
roadblock. He was the main roadblock in all that stuff.
Yeah.
He was.
didn't-
It was
he
just pretty reluctant that they made the video game that was like a
Yeah.
spiritual successor to the other
He said
ones.
the only way was if it was like really good.
Which wasn't a bad
Video
game.
game
Like,
got pretty rave reviews.
yeah, it wasn't a bad game. It was fun. Definitely the best thing about it though
It's
was
like
the
Luigi's
dialogue
Mansion.
between them.
Yeah, it was like Luigi's Mansion with good dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like especially since
Guess what the file
fucking
name was for this?
Ramus isn't there
Fat
anymore.
tits bouncing
I'm
in the
sure
back.
for sure that just derailed it completely. They're just like, there's no point. There's no point in doing it if Ramus isn't here.
Yeah.
No, and they need a writer. They can't just go off of the great improv skills of all these
No,
SNL
There's
alums.
not.
That's
There's
you have a script that is written by somebody like that, so that the humor is informed and they can do their improv around
There's a
that.
structure to
Like
it.
they can. That's what happens in other movies like that, where you have those kind of comedians who are usually good
No, that's
improvers
why-
or people who like to ad lib.
That's why Lord and Miller got removed from Han Solo, was because they were like encouraging diversion from the script so much. And it was Kasdan, the guy who wrote it.
Yeah,
And-
he
and
had
it
a
was like, no, that's not cool. And
stick up his butt
Kennedy
about
and them
that.
were just like, yeah, you can't
Yeah, just
diverge from the script that much.
Yeah.
But
I'd
there's-
like to see that
There's right. There's
refreshing take on it, though,
People, there's people who.
because it's all
who
formulaic
that
now with
works
Star Wars.
For, like the early Apatow stuff,
Mhm.
that was their type of thing. We have a story and a script,
exactly.
but we'll riff around it
Yep.
too. But like, there was a script there still, and they were still like adhering to the structure of it. Like it worked for them. It's like they're trying to do it, but it didn't work for them.
Because if you think about like in Ghostbusters, how that's 95% of their dialogue is not expository things or talking about what's going on. It's just them doing riffs and ad libs all together. So you can't convey any information about the story that way. Like the story can't really continue. It stops being a story that's told, and it's just a series of like stand-up sets.
Or little improv sketches.
That's all it is. I didn't see any structure to the story.
Mm-mm.
It was almost trying to be a soft reboot of the original, but mixing things up, like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man getting like zapped in the dick. What's the point of throwing in the Stay
Fuck man.
Puft?
They were sticking it to the patriarchy.
And that, I know that like they said that
Every single guy, every single guy in the movie is like a
Either
bumbling
evil or
idiot.
is either an idiot or a complete asshole, because
Yeah.
even Charles Dance is a proper asshole, like he says it nicely, but the dean of the college, how crass and rude he is.
The mayor.
Like, yeah, the mayor is, they portrayed, and Kevin, even though he's the one that everybody's supposed to love,
Horses
He's
should never
like
be put in
retarded.
positions of political power.
Horses?
The mayor?
The mayor, yeah.
The mayor.
The mayor. Mr. Mayor.
What would a
Mr.
horse be
Mike.
good at, though, for public office? What do you think?
Transportation.
Transportation.
The DMV.
Yeah, DMV would be
DMV,
great for
yeah.
a horse. What else? Department of Lands Management.
Public Works.
Public Works.
Parks and Rec.
Yeah. Parks and
Agriculture.
Beavers work for public
think-
works.
Rec. Agriculture would be a cow. Or
Oh,
a
Yeah,
pig or
agriculture would be a
something.
cow. Law enforcement would be a dog.
German Shepherd.
That'd be the captain.
What do you mean? Like, Germans are somehow authoritative? Or they're associated with that? Is that what you're saying?
No,
Oh,
German,
German
Shepherds
Shepherds
are
are
like main
Are you
cop
saying
dogs.
that at some point there might have been some sort of party that was interested in the greatness of their nation, and through socializing they could make it happen?
That sounds familiar.
That sounds really familiar. It sounds like so you're saying it was like socialism, but only for the people
I just said
within
a
that
dog.
nation.
You said a German Shepherd.
It's a dog for that nation.
So there's some correlation in your mind between some authoritative figure and
Cops.
German Shepherds, which are a German breed.
Cops use German Shepherds. They use German Shepherds
You
in
don't take the
Malinois.
pool like that. No. We're looking into your psyche right now. You're not going to get
No,
away
you're
with
trying
that.
to inject
Just 'cause there's the
Nazi
correlation doesn't mean-
sympathies into my psyche. You're twisting my words. You're Jedi mind tricking me.
I will expose you, racist! Secret alt-righters cannot hide in the presence of fine people such as these. I will not allow it.
Gotta come out of that hole sometime.
Nazis! If you're always staying on the right, you don't even know that there's a left. And you're missing half the equation, bud.
Well, if you keep going, you know, it's like when you're driving down the street. If you take enough rights, you eventually end up left.
So you got a complete
No,
circle.
if you make enough rights, you end up going exactly the same way you were going.
Time is a flat circle.
Depends on how many rights you take. You could just take one right, and you'll just be going right
No,
your whole life.
I get how all right time
time.
works.
But if you do two rights,
I'll tell you
Alright,
what.
fine.
then you're going backwards, and you're going back
You
on
could
everything
make
you ever stood for.
any
So you're
number
just a
of them.
coward to begin with. But if you go take three rights,
Xbox 360.
then yeah, it's the Xbox 360. You do a
Because
360
go
and you
in
walk
then you
away.
come-
60.
and then you-
Isn't that like a GameStop meme? Like, you want an Xbox? Like, go do a 360 and walk away.
That
Moonwalk
was-
away.
Those memes started because someone like didn't understand why they were calling it the 360. So they're like, some shitposter just said you do a 360 and you walk away, and no one knew what that meant. So someone made a GIF of like Michael Jackson.
He
walking up
moonwalks
to-
away
yeah.
though.
Yeah, he walks up to the 360 and he does a 360 and then he moonwalks away. So it makes sense.
That makes perfect sense.
'Cause
Putting
normally
it
you
in
do
those,
a 180. when
that
you
context makes perfect
walk away
sense.
from something.
Because Michael Jackson always buys his Xboxes at GameStop.
Yep.
No, because a 360 is you would start one way and end up that exact same way. You can't then turn and walk away from it.
No, that's
They
why
all
he
say-
That's why
moonwalks
that guy
away.
got made fun of, and that's why it became a meme. Is because who does a 360 when they're
It's a
walking
meme,
away
you
from something?
dip.
It's a meme, you dip.
Yeah.
The person just doesn't
Do
understand
you not
degrees.
understand the
180
popular culture
versus
of the
360.
internet?
Yeah, the phrase is, he did a complete 180. Like, he changed his perspective on the situation. It's not like, he did a complete 360. He ended up back where he started again.
Exactly.
What a fucking dumb shit.
That's what they didn't understand.
Well, that's what the guy said, and that's why it became a meme. Is because it was just dumb.
Because stupid people make the best memes.
They
Yeah, they
really
do.
do.
They don't even know that they're
Just
dumb.
thinking about them beans. Just thinking about those beans.
It's all beans.
That's why the Trump memes were way more popular than the Hillary memes, because Trump's just a fucking dumbass, and dumb people make the best memes,
That's true.
and that's what happened.
There's this channel on YouTube that apparently all they do is they like songify things, and it's mostly news stories, and they got a lot of content out of 2016. Let's just say that. So they have like footage of the Bernie and Hillary debate, and they turned it into like Battle of the Bands with Bernie is just like shredding on an electric guitar while Hillary is like backup dancers, and they're doing like Britney Spears like choreography, just like really kind of like sexy pop dancing. There's one where Trump is being interviewed, and this lady's like, you know, is it true that you didn't want to release your taxes to everybody because you wanted to hide you're very secretive about your hobbies? Is that true? And they just made it look like he's like, yes. And the whole thing is like him saying, I go hard. So they list all
I
the
go hard.
like interests that he's into, and he's just either I go hard, or then he says waste of time. So, Pilates, I go hard. Coloring, I go hard. Minecraft, I go hard. And then eventually
Nice.
she says like, and she starts singing it like playing tuba, and then it turns and he's just playing the tuba. Really good.
Dude,
Dude,
there was so many good memes that came out of the election cycle last election.
they keep
cycle.
coming. They keep coming in waves. They hit you like a tidal wave. Every day.
Why is my audio laggy? I destroyed the UF.
It's good. It's good.
You are a true war hero.
Don't know why my audio is lagging though.
Did
Is
you
this
watch
Call
Game
of
of Thrones,
Duty?
Steven?
Yep.
Battlefield.
How'd you like it?
Bad Company 2.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Did you like the episode before it better?
No,
I
not
did.
really. Honestly, like I mean,
I
it was,
love
the one
that.
before it had like cool shit in it, but it didn't really like.
It had
have
so
any
much cool
closure
shit.
on many
I
scenes.
loved last night's
Other
episode,
than the
to be
fact
honest
that
with
the
you.
dragons are
Like
badass.
that scene
It's
with
definitely up
the-
there.
I like to think about it this way, like that whole second kind of part that we had at Winterfell, we have separately seen so many members of the Stark family who are. It's kind of like amazing that those actors who have been separate in these different positions are now together and doing what we've seen them do from the beginning, but now with each other. So
Are you
have
talking in specifically of the Eastwatch group or Winterfell?
just Winterfell in general because they're all showing up now?
Okay.
Like that now that they've all congregated, but specifically in that episode Eastwatch, when Arya is just slinking around and doing what she learned how to do.
Do you think that she
Yeah.
was maybe doing a double, like, spy, kind of like following the breadcrumbs on purpose? Or do you think that
I
she's
think-
actually out scammed?
It was
By
hard to make
Littlefinger.
out like a ton of what that scroll actually said.
That was. Did
But-
you not know?
No, I know what it was,
Okay.
but that one piece of evidence, I feel like because it incriminates Sansa, I feel like Littlefinger, because he's Littlefinger, it's his like purpose to know everything. So at some point he probably caught on to her, no matter how good she is, because he's just Littlefinger. That's what he does. It's like Varys. We don't know if he's magical or not, but he knew what was in the sealed scroll.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that he has a bigger motive than, like, is he trying to then just
I think
cause
he's-
a stir within the group dynamic,
I
or does
think
he
he's-
actually have like a reasoning why he was smuggling that paper away from the Raven cages?
I think that he might have had his own purpose for like taking it out of Maester Lewin's records, but I don't know for sure. But I do think that he is trying to create a rift between Sansa and Arya.
Well, Arya already kind of, in that one scene where everybody's like berating Sansa, saying like, the king should be in the north and shit. And she's like, well, okay, yeah, right. And she's just taking it, and Arya's like, well, she's not much of a leader, and she's kind of still like, what can you do?
Yeah.
She'd rather, because in that interaction with her, she's like, you want to kill them. You want to swing the sword and cut off their heads.
God, Wilson, be more prepared.
I got a little confused during that conversation, just because they were talking around something so much, and they were going back and forth between it, and then Arya's kind of like diatribe to her.
Arya could tell that Sansa has malice within her, and she feels like, okay, I'm putting this in the perspective of last season, where Ramsay said to Sansa, there's a little bit of me in you. So there's a little bit of a psychic disconnect within her mind. So she does feel in ways that Ramsay was feeling towards punishment and things like that, and getting the job done.
I feel like what it was to me was Arya was calling out Sansa for being just like sitting back and taking it and not really standing up for her brother, and just saying like, hey, that's my brother, you can't talk about him like that. That, and B, he's arcane, we need to be respectful of all the stuff that she did say. And then she went on to keep like telling her sister how she felt, and I feel like she was in some ways insinuating like, I know that you want to be like Cersei in some ways, and like take that authority and do that kind of stuff and be ruthless like that, because that's what you learned in King's Landing.
That's what she learned, yeah.
Yeah,
She
so
learned
I think
from
Arya was like putting in her place like, I know that you want to be aggressive like that, and I know that you're just hiding it, and obviously
I mean, they're
Sansa's
sisters,
upset
then
about
I
it.
think Arya would know better than anybody. I think Sansa knows Cersei better than
Arya
a lot of people too.
Arya, now that she's learned what she's learned, has, like, it's a little on the nose with her having just met Nymeria again, who is the leader of a wolf pack and is like a lone wolf and does her own thing and goes around and... Have you read the books? Do you know anything about Nymeria, what she does in the books?
I know that she's the leader of the pack. She's like the alpha of the whole clan.
Yeah, and they just basically go around killing Lannister troops.
Mhm.
Like, it'll be mentioned every so often that, like, this troop will be talking about, like, yeah, our party was attacked by this pack of wolves during this one time. And so her meeting her wolf right before she got back to Winterfell, and now she's just... Even the fact she went to Winterfell over King's Landing to go after her list, quote-unquote, that she's trying to reconnect with her family again, is, like, a big kind of tell for them as a family. But she's just being a lone wolf, and, like, her just meeting... She always wanted to be a fighter, and she's been trained her whole life to be exactly what she wanted to be, and now she is it. And she
I
can
think
go
she's-
around doing these amazing things.
She definitely has that intuitive, like, eye
Mhm.
on people, like how the waif in the other season could, like, tell if she was lying.
Because I think
I think Arya knows exactly that Sansa's lying about
she doesn't
what
have
she's...
to worry about
her
like
persona.
who's sitting on the throne or who's even attending those hall meetings in Winterfell. She just knows that these people aren't agreeing with Sansa. Like,
If
her
Arya
life is so simple that she can just look right into people, I think.
If Arya is anything like Jack and Hagar in that one scene in, like, at Harrenhal or whatever that place was, when he was just like killing a bunch of dudes so they can escape.
Mm-hmm.
If Arya is anything like him, she can get away with anything and just leave with putting a mask on.
Well, she definitely showed, like, because in the very beginning, in the first season when she was training with Sirio, she was chasing cats and she was learning to be light on her feet and she was learning to be, like, quick and stuff like that. So we definitely saw that in this episode with her slinking around like an animal and just standing half behind things and just watching. There was maybe 3 or 4 minutes no dialogue, which was cool. There was just a very soft but slightly eerie score to
Of
it,
her
as
just
she was just
menacingly watching.
and they did like a montage. It was awesome. The first time she was standing like pretty far away back in his first meeting, she was like he was standing near one of the gates underneath some archway and she was standing way behind. And then the next time she was up on one of those wooden walkways watching him down in the courtyard talk to more people. And the first time she's watching him, the score starts soft and then it builds, and it's just very, like, 2 violins. Just really effective, I thought.
Yeah, she's definitely stealthy, but I don't know if she was either putting on the act of being stealthy for the sake of wanting Littlefinger to follow her and know that what she was doing and getting into, or that she was just clumsy and she's bad at being stealthy.
She opened the door pretty loudly.
She did, and she locked it too. She was like,
He knew that she was onto him at some point, so he, I think, planted that there for her, just to create a rift between the sisters.
yeah, I'd like to see
Like,
that.
he knew that she was into him, so he was acting suspicious to a degree.
Well, that glare that she gave her after she fought Brienne, after she gave Littlefinger, she was like, I'm gonna fucking kill you.
But I think because, like, all of these children who are actually remaining of the Stark family, like, they are really the only remaining Starks, and one of them's only half Stark. Spoilers. Like,
Whoa.
But
them coming together, they're gonna just
Whoa.
realize that they're still remaining, that nothing else matters, and that they're gonna become a wolf pack, in my opinion. They're going to just look out for each other to become.
Wolf fight. Yeah.
They're gonna
NWO.
just look out for each other from now on.
what
and
do you
still
think?
try to accomplish their
Do
goals,
you
obviously, but
think that
my
Bran
favorite
considers
shots
himself a Stark still?
It's beautiful.
he'll come to
Last
some
week.
realization, because that was
I actually like to think that Bran did die, and he's just like he took over the Three-Eyed Raven's persona. And he's just not him
they
anymore.
tried really hard to paint him like Dr. Manhattan, just like above it all, but he's gonna come back down to earth because he's gonna, like, John's gonna be something's going to happen.
Definitely
he's
when
not
John
going to
gets
be
back,
able
they're
to
gonna have
remain-
a talk.
Yeah.
But I think that scene where
That's
he
probably
gave
what will
he gave the
trigger it.
dagger up to Arya, you can tell that he's like looking at the dagger like this is probably something that's gonna come in handy in the future. Like he can see pieces of something, so he's like, I'm gonna give this to you because it's better
there
off
are
in your
theories
hands.
about that dagger,
Yeah, definitely, and where it came from, and like because it's so expensive.
what it will end up being.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And what's its real name? Like they just
Yeah.
call it the cat's paw.
The cat's paw dagger, yeah.
But
The real Valyrian name. And
I'm just gonna create a character that's the opposite of Dr. Manhattan. Call him Mr. Brooklyn.
Mr. Brooklyn.
I think when
Alcoholic fat.
I think when Bran and John have that talk,
Nothing.
is probably when they'll have that emotional connection. And
Well, they did set it up.
When-
They set it up in like the second episode or whenever Bran showed up. He's like, I got to talk to him.
yeah,
That's gonna be probably the last episode then of this season, because they can't set something up and just leave it till next season.
no, that'll probably be the last.
But what they've been doing with John
with
is
the
setting him
pacing
up
and the
to
timing,
to
though,
know
it's
all
gonna-
this information. They've been gradually doing it with like Gilly's little thing that she talked about in the
Which
last
I
episode.
missed the first time through. I didn't even notice what she was like. I didn't pick
That
up
little
on what
off
she was
comment
saying. Yeah.
of the annulment.
Yeah.
So these
the
little
name Rhaegar was like, oh, Rhaegar. Interesting. And she moved on to the next
yeah.
one. I
What's
was
an
like,
annulment? And he's like,
I think I was
"Wow."
just trying to pay attention to what she was saying, like all of it,
Yeah.
rather than pay enough attention to that one thing to really dig into it.
I freaked out when I was like annulment. What's she talking about? And then she's like Rhaegar married somebody else in Dorne. I'm like, holy shit, it's legitimate now.
Yeah.
I'm like, he's not a bastard.
Nope.
And I was like, that's the coolest part right there is Gilly then doesn't know anything.
Dragon, half wolf.
All Bran knows is
Best
that
combination.
all Bran knows is that he was born between these two people. He didn't know that they got married, as far as he knows. He does have information saying, yeah, you were born between these two people. He doesn't say like,
But-
you're not a bastard, by the way, anymore.
I don't think that he'll ever actually learn that he. Well,
A lot of people
May-
are catching
maybe-
on to
may-
John though.
maybe not that they were married.
Catching
But-
on to John. There's a
I don't know.
spin-off coming this fall.
They are. Danny was like saying,
Oh, you caught on to me.
"You got stabbed in the heart," and he's like, "Nah." But like they're catching on to like his.
I forget who like interrupted them, but they set it up as if they were going to have that conversation after a couple awkward moments.
It was
And
it was
then-
when Jorah shows up.
Yeah, Jorah showed up. So then, but that's so typical of two characters about to have a
The
conversation.
trope, and they're like,
and
"Oh,
then somebody
they're about
interrupts
to
them.
kiss," and then like record scratch.
Something the simplest form of that. Yeah.
Standing with my theory that John's gonna get turned.
Into the Night King.
And
See,
he
that's what I
takes
hope,
over-
is
and
that he
takes
becomes
over,
conscious
and
of
he keeps
being
them,
it.
and he keeps them at bay, the true warden of the north.
No,
Like,
That would be
see,
kick-ass.
Here's
Yeah.
the thing: is that Dany's whole like, a lot of her speeches for a lot of the seasons that she's been in power have been about breaking the wheel and breaking the cycle, and they're not. And she's not just talking about like oppression and stuff. It's like with
His impressions, like Jim Carrey, like
The
Robert
mask.
De Niro,
Garfield the cat.
Al Pacino.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
But they've been setting up like Azor Ahai, actually more like because the fact that the
Do you think it's one of those dudes that go out in the wilderness at the end?
people think it's there's a few different options. They think it might be Dany.
They think it might be Jaime,
Jon.
too.
To what?
They think it might be Jaime. They think it might be Sir Davos.
As what?
Azor Ahai.
What's that?
Like the
Prince
legendary
who was
hero.
promised
The,
to,
the
like,
first
yeah,
the first hero.
Yeah, basically like the legendary hero who is known
Tyrion.
for.
It's Tyrion, my dude. It was Hodor, but
That's
Yeah,
what-
well,
I'm, saying, I'm saying that Tyrion ends up on the
still
throne.
could be
at the end.
Hodor.
he comes
yeah,
back.
They're still just
Yeah.
holding that.
But
door.
they're
He did
trying
it.
to because it's always been winter, summer, like they want to stop the Night King and all them from coming back ever again if they can. So they're
Well, that's what I'm saying. John would be conscious.
That's what I'm thinking
and,
too.
And he would lead them.
He would be
away
kind
and
of
not
like
bring them back.
he would be like a combination of Benjen, where he's
Yeah, he'd be
still like
that. 'Cause he is
cognizant
on
of
that-
everybody around him.
Think
He's like,
about-
"Oh, you're Bran. You're my
think about this,
cousin."
like the planet that this continent or continents obviously exist on somewhere because it
well,
it goes through like natural seasons like that. Like somehow how it rotates
Well-
around its sun or whatever.
So it does have seasons. We don't know exactly
Because
how
yeah,
long these
like
seasons
the
are.
Grand-
the Grand Maester says that it's an unending cycle of like winter, summer, winter, summer, winter, summer.
Or,
They don't have spring.
like my theory is that the
It's
old Nan is right, and that they all live in the blue-eyed giant Macumber.
That's a nickname for my penis.
That little tidbit of
Christ, why is
funny
it blue?
lore of that why the sky is blue is because they live in a blue-eyed
I
giant,
use pool chalk on it.
which would be hilarious if the showrunners did that
Yeah.
at the very last
It's
the
like
very
a
last
fun
episode
dip.
of the
Like a
last
fun dip.
season.
Put it in a little
You
fun
keep
dip.
pulling out of the planet, you keep pulling out of the solar system, and all you see is this
Very
big
fun.
giant blink, and that's it. Cut to credits.
That's the end of the show.
Makes me just want to
Because they've been stringing that along. Like, Rob talked to Bran in, like, the first season saying, like, old Nan told me a bunch of bullshit about living in the blue-eyed giant named Macumber. And then Oberyn talks to
How would they
Tywin.
even know? How would they know that they're in a giant if they're that tiny? Like,
Well, because it's just a folk tale that
It's a fuck
old
tale.
Nan told to old
Yo,
Nan would
baby,
tell
yo,
shit
we
to
live
Bran
on
to get him to go to
fucking
sleep because he
island,
loved freaky
Jack.
shit. He loved browsing
do it.
X and shit. So
Brand's a paranormal investigator.
yeah, he
He's
is.
into that cryptozoology.
He is.
I'm gonna find
he's a
the
PI.
children of the wood.
I'm gonna find those snarks. I'm gonna fucking
Those
eat 'em.
grumpkins.
Eat those grumpkins.
No, so Cersei's whole news for Jaime,
That's a ploy.
it's not a ploy.
That's either a ploy or she's fucking dying in childbirth because that
Or-
would fulfill that prophecy that she dies by her younger brother.
Or what's gonna happen? Or what else could happen is she could like lose the baby somehow, and that be the thing that just sends her over the edge. No coming back, crazy, vengeful, wrathful Cersei like doesn't give a shit what she does or the consequences.
Yeah, why did she even like whisper after the fact, like, you know, I forgive you and shit, but don't ever betray me.
Because
And he's
maybe
like-
it's not Jamie's child. What if it's a different
That'd be crazy if it wasn't. And she's.
What if
But
it's
the prophecy that
hand of the queen?
that witch in the tree said that you'll have 3 kids and they all have golden shrouds. And she's like, oh, okay. And then she has a 4th baby, and it's like, oh, how'd you miss that
She
one?
doesn't have the 4th baby, is what I'm saying. It gets miscarried somehow because she only said 3 kids.
That's what.
So she's gonna be pregnant, and then
What if
all
she
of a
gives
sudden
birth to a
she's
full-grown
gonna just
man
lose.
instead of a kid?
What if she gives birth to a shadow baby that kills Jamie?
He's not gonna get a lot of character development. I'll tell you that much.
He's already fully developed.
There's not many episodes left to give him a character arc, so he's gotta.
Just being a fully grown
Do
man
something
coming
quick.
out of there would be good. Whole backstory already.
Full-grown man.
But I think I
What's
think
his name?
she's gonna go over the edge.
Full-grown man.
There you go.
Full grown?
Full grown man.
Full grown man?
Full-grown man.
A full grown man.
Fulgrim Lannister.
Well, I mean, if she
Full-grown
is still
man is
born,
it?
what's gonna stop fucking? What the hell's that guy's name? The Hand of the Queen dude, the Maester guy,
Qyburn?
Kyber.
Qyburn. Yeah, what's gonna stop that guy from like bringing him back to life, just like the mountain,
You know
like
what?
a little zombie?
I keep
thing.
thinking that Rob should let that dude die. Rob's the one that brought Qyburn
Yeah,
back to life. But yeah, there's a lot of fun theories to think about, especially with like the prophecy that Cersei is going to be killed by her younger brother.
Well, if she does go over the edge like that, then Jamie would probably like realize, okay, and
You're
then
the Mad
s-
Queen now,
do
dog.
something about it, and then the prophecy is still fulfilled. She's killed by her brother.
Do you think it might be Jamie, or do you think it's more likely to be Tyrion? I'm loving the fact that it could be Jamie, because he's this season he's been like pushed over the edge. Like everybody's saying like, your sister's a bitch, and he's like, yeah,
And he's
you're
had to
right.
see like firsthand, like when she snapped about hearing about Olenna, like I wish she'd die screaming. It just becomes like shrinks into this Disney-esque like
Maleficent,
shadow, like,
yeah.
I wish she'd die screaming. Just you can see the gears turning in the Cersei wheel, and it's just like seeing them in love when she gives them the news is. Besides how disgusting it is that they're brother and sister, just how vile that woman is, and the fact that he keeps loving her and just shutting down and becoming another person completely
What I think
when
is
she
that-
turns it on for him.
Cersei has some kind of psychopathy that makes her think that Jamie is just a mere image of herself. So she doesn't see Jamie as a person. She sees herself because they're essentially like genetically identical.
Yep.
So
They
they're like,
definitely
that's
like,
me. I'm having sex with myself.
There's some
best.
sort of mental disconnect going on there between both of them. But I think Jamie is kind of rising above that he's been in for years and realizing like, oh wow, this is a person that just generally sucks no matter how much I want to fuck him.
Greyjoy has to marry her though, like.
That's gonna send him over the edge too. Yeah, he's gonna.
Yeah.
It's like a whole other factor.
Unless Dany like takes care of Euron on her own.
She fucking better, dude. Fuck that.
That'd be awesome.
Well, I still believe that Jamie's had the most growth as a character than any of the characters on Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
From him, the first episode, him
Yeah.
pushing a fucking kid out a window.
Yeah.
There's no redeeming that, and you're like, okay. After a while, he
he
keeps
stops having
gaining-
sex with his sister to push a kid out the window.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
like-
add that. I'm just gonna add that.
And the
I'm
whole
sorry.
the whole
I'll shut
series,
up.
the whole series, he's having sex with his sister and doing these unspeakable things. But after he gets his hand cut off, then he starts having this rapid like, wow, I feel bad for him, and he's just trying to be an honorable guy.
There's definitely a turn to that character. Like it's reverse WWE. He wasn't likable and then he became the heel. He was the heel and then he became likable.
Yeah. But I'm thinking that since he has such a great character growth, he's like, he could be the prophecy. Because he's, in part of the prophecy, it talks about how you're being reborn from salt and smoke. And on that battlefield that just happened the week prior, Field of Fire, he fell into the black water, which is part salt water. And there's other reasonings behind the fact that what's cool to think about is that Ned Stark's sword was called Ice.
Yep.
And that since part of the prophecy is Lightbringer, the sword, only combusts if you stab it through the heart of a loved one. So the only person that he loves is Cersei, so that would fulfill the prophecy of Cersei's like being killed by her brother, her younger brother, but it also fulfilled the prophecy that he can wield Lightbringer with the Valyrian sword that he had from ice that was smelted down.
Think about this. Somebody, I think, pointed out that, like, they're, like, through their reasoning, this is why Dany could be, like, it's similar to the forging of Lightbringer, where first he put it in water and it broke. And then
A lion.
the second time he killed a lion. So the first time all of Dany's ships get destroyed, that's her failure in water.
In the water.
Second time she goes to Casterly's rock to try and cut off the head of the lion. It's not even there. That's the lion. Now the third time she went over the battlefield just ablazing with all that fire. So it's kind of like symbolic of that in a way, which is either for people who are watching for that might be there to throw them off, and or just like increase the number of people that you think might be it to give you something to hype for like season 8 and something to build in your story. I don't know.
What do you think the final? Well, also about the Lightbringer with Jaime, if he does stab Cersei and it does combust, that means that since it was smelted into two swords, that means Brienne's sword would then combust too, and she would also be wielding Lightbringer at the same time that Jaime has it, because they're both the same metal and the same
I
sword.
don't know how it works, but that would be awesome.
If that happened, that would be like Jaime and Brienne are like meant to like be together because they're they have two flaming swords together.
Who?
Brienne, since they both have
Brienne and who?
two swords from the same sword that they smelted down.
Yep.
So maybe they have like some kind of residual communicating
Well,
between the
Jaime's
two.
actually, they did point out that now he has Widow's Wail. I was thinking like he just has a regular sword, but then they pointed out that he has Widow's Wail now.
Mm-hmm. So there's a lot to think about.
So
How many dads is that?
I'm pretty like I'm 95% sure of what's gonna happen, just overall, in the next episode.
We'll speculate. What do you think?
I think that the end game of what's going to happen with Jon and everybody above the wall, they're definitely going to confront the White Walkers, but they're going to be overrun, and they're going to be trapped on an island, like a very small island that we saw in the trailer for next week. We saw the frozen lake with that island, so to me that's really telling. And they're going to get trapped there, surrounded by White Walkers, and the Night's King and everybody's going to show up, and there's going to be some sort of like. They definitely have some sort of like interaction with him or something, I think. And during all this probably happens like in the last half hour of the show, which they're probably just going to stay up there, and then what happens with that. In the last half hour of the show, let's say, they are going to like be cutting back to Dany, who's still on Dragonstone, and we saw in the trailer her just standing there looking out the window. And
Just thinking about them beans.
yeah, she's thinking about them John Baines. And she's going to, like, have the realization that she wants to help him. And then go up there with all three of her dragons. And she's going to save them. And everybody, like, except John, is going to get saved, pretty much, where they get out of the danger immediately. And John is somehow cut off from everybody. And in that moment, like, the Night King does something to either kill the Syrian or take him over in some way, just outright. But either way, what we end up with is Viserion coming either through control or being undead as being the Night King's flying ice dragon mount.
That'd be badass.
That I'm 95% certain that's going to happen.
He's the
Since
third
there's
head of the dragon?
Well, there's the three dragon riders, right?
Yeah, in the prophecy.
So, and then assumedly that would be Dany, John,
Riding
and then
the dragon
Tyrion.
named after his father, Rhaegon.
Yeah, he'll definitely ride Rhaegal or somebody.
Rhaegal, yeah, whatever it is.
And Tyrion, right? So,
Tyrion?
is Dragon Rider? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because there's the rumor that he's
Secretly a Targaryen
Yeah,
through the
he's
Mad
a
King,
Targaryen.
having sex with his mom, but
Yeah.
dying in
in the
childbirth.
books,
Because
No, I
Yes.
mean I know that whole thing, but I don't
Yeah.
think he's a dragon rider.
So-
Like I don't think that we will see him ride a dragon in this show.
Oh, dude, just by his ability to interact with the dragons.
and he has dragon dreams.
Yeah.
There's things to go off of the fact that he might,
But at least in French.
but who knows?
But if that, assuming that's a thing, that's why then I want then John to become the new Night's King or whatever, and then him pilot fucking White Walker ass dragon.
The ice dragon,
Yeah,
the
ice
undead.
dragon.
They're gonna have to end up killing him. I don't know
That's
how.
what I'm
But
saying.
no. They're gonna have to end up killing the ice dragon. I know you want this one thing to happen, but like
I want it.
No.
Want it.
they're gonna have to end up killing him somehow. Like
That would be cool, but you never know. Maybe that since he can control dead and animate skeletons, he could basically do that to the skeletons of dragons that are passed on, like north of the wall or wherever. Maybe he can just do that innately. Just, all right, all these undead dragons are now mine.
I think that like he kills Viserion or the dragon dies somehow.
I had this
I-
conversation with one of my coworkers saying like, all right, who's the third head of the dragon? And I was like, well, since the three-eyed raven said like, no, you'll never walk again, but you'll fly to Bran, he could warg one and ride
That's
it
what I
that
was
way.
thinking too.
He
I
can
feel like
that's
that's
definitely
just
possible.
Because he's already warging like
into birds.
ravens. Like
Yeah.
he's already doing that.
True.
I'd like to believe
That would
that,
be
but I'd
fun.
also like to believe that he could warg into a dragon, and like he can
Yeah.
be it.
That
It-
would be pretty bad.
It would be like an end game thing at like right at the end when they have to take on the Night's King in the last effort or the last battle that they're ever going to have. Bran just is like Super Saiyan, but goes into the
I
dragon.
have the power of God and anime.
So I read last year like this Reddit thread, about theorizing and what they thought was going to happen in this current season and some of the episodes, and so far it's been pretty much right of what they named,
Like main story
majority-wise.
beats.
Yeah, and that was one of them, is that this dragon dies and comes back as Night King thing.
Do you think she'll go with all three?
I don't see why not.
She's been really loving Drogon.
But she could still go, like, nothing's stopping her from taking all three. Especially if she, like, actually truly believes in Jon Snow and wants to help him. She would bring all three to fight White Walkers, because
I do love that scene when, like, it was so reminiscent of the first episode when the gate comes up at Eastwatch. The same shot, perspective of the gate just popping up out of the snow, and those guys just, like, fading to the whiteness. And they're just like, those 7 guys, just like, all right. You didn't expect all these guys to be together, like Jorah and the Hound. All these random, like, Gendry, like, they all come from different parts of the world, and they don't even know each other, but they kind of know of each other's, like, through their interactions with other people.
yeah.
It was such a funny, like, band of misfits ready to charge into Hellfire.
And then everybody from the Brotherhood as well.
Yeah, in their interaction with Gendry, and Gendry's like, fuck these guys. Don't listen to them.
I mean, I don't remember them being that bad to him.
They kind of just sold him off for money. He
Yeah,
wanted, he wanted,
that- I
to,
mean,
he wanted to help them by making them armor and shit, but they're like, nah, we need the money. Later, dude.
Next week is going to be, either way, next week is going to be action-packed and pretty intense.
I'm expecting some people to die, and I'm excited for it because I think they should start killing a lot of people off.
Mm-hmm. Thin out the numbers, because then we'd have more screen time with who's remaining.
Yeah. You barely even got the chance to even get to know the Hound this season. He's like, hey, the fire, check that out. We gotta go. Let's go.
What do you see in the fire? I see chickens. Thousands of them.
Chickens.
Don't let him live. Why was his parachute still completely erect?
Erect. Boing.
2004 physics.
2004, I believe? What's that?
It's a year.
It's a year.
Oh,
The
what
year that
year it
happened.
was.
It's one of those years.
So that's how many pixels there were?
What are you throwing shit?
But so, what do you think that Beric Dondarrion's true reason that he's going beyond the wall? Because he said, like, I have a job to do.
Well,
I got to fulfill that prophecy. I got to do this shit.
to
He's either going back there to
fight
die
to
or
fight the darkness, because fight the dead. I forget what religion, but George R. R. Martin came out and said that he based the religion of the whole Red Priest and everything on something like having to do with, it has like astrology in the name of it basically, but it was this belief of two separate gods, one that represents day, one that represents night, and they're battle between each other, where one never beats the other, but
sounds like Lost.
that they kind of like gain advantage over each other in opposing ways throughout eternity, and that represents the Lore, the god of light, and what they call the Great Other, who is what they believe to be the god of the others, aka the White Walkers.
Mm-hmm.
The Nightman.
The White Walkers.
The Nightman. Yep. Dayman versus Nightman is. I mean, if that happens and Charlie Day and Rob McElhenney show up at the end and they do their dance off and he's like behind the corner going.
I would love for the show to end that way. I wouldn't even be mad.
I wouldn't either. Or if it just ended like how Lost did, where it just says Lost at the end. Lost.
I watched the first episode of Lost and then was not interested. I will never watch it.
My favorite episode is The Constant, but you probably will never get that far in the show. But it's the coolest way to deal with synesthesia, time traveling. It's really fun.
Can we talk about Twin Peaks some more? Can we just talk about that?
How many episodes are you in?
Yeah.
You guys, get on it.
For me, I was watching them when I was sick. So during the second episode, sometime during Dale's little trip outside of the lodge, I dozed off because of my meds and not feeling well. And then I was weird. I was telling Broadshow that like I feel like knowing what's ahead with, let alone episode 8, but everything else that will be in this series, I don't feel like I'm ready. Like I was ready then when I started watching it because I just came off seasons 1 and 2. So,
But did you watch Fire?
Yeah.
Walk with Me?
yes, I did.
Okay.
I did.
That's all you need to watch. Honestly.
I'm ready, but I'm just
You're okay.
anticipating
You're
what
okay.
I'm about
I
to
wasn't
see
even
with
touching
everything.
the-
Get back in the game.
I wasn't even touching the tank though.
Get
How
you
many
in the game.
more episodes are there by this point?
I'm at
I think
15.
there's
There's 15 now since last Sunday, yesterday.
But how many are there in this season?
I think there's either 18 or 20 something.
Okay, I
22.
thought they were getting into the single digits.
Someone was saying like 24, which would be ridiculous.
What you got there, spicy memes?
They're not kidding.
Mulan. Yep.
Spoilers, dude. Come on.
Spoilers.
Somehow I'll make a man.
How do you?
The whole time that scene of them going in, I was playing The Boys Are Back in Town when they're like going through the gate. But yeah, Twin Peaks gets really good.
I'm sure it does, and I'm ready. I kind of want the show to end so that I can watch it if I have.
You'll get
enough.
so burnt out. I need it like a de-cleanse.
I kind of feel the same way, especially with this new stuff. From what I did see, it was like
It seems like they add so much more other things to it that don't get tied up, but like intermingle with other people's storylines, and then eventually they all fizzle out, and then they become one storyline.
what
It's so bizarre.
what drug and what process did David Lynch discover that makes people feel the way that they
transcendental
do?
meditation.
I
He does transcendental meditation every day.
with the last 2 episodes of the first 2 seasons, where it goes like the first of the penultimate episode contains the beauty pageant and Annie pretty much being taken into the lodge with Wyndham, and then Dale goes in after her. And from then on out, it's what that show is.
Well, you'll be in
And
for a surprise in this season because there's a lot of crazy shit.
From how he shot everything and from what happens in there and how it happens on film and how he represents everything with the way they talk, the doppelgangers, the flashing lights, just the set design, everything about how he shot it, and then also the content, what he shot, what the people were saying, and what was happening on screen. The combination of the two is the most high that I will ever be sober. Like, it's
No,
like
it's great.
Episode 8 is
just
the highest I've ever been. So
my brain goes into this mode of like, what the
Oh,
fuck
God.
is happening in front of me?
Well, it's
so
like a
amazing
fever
that I
dream.
can't.
It just helps to watch everything of his before
I love it.
watching something.
I've seen other stuff of his, and like I totally get what he's doing, like, and that's his style, and some of it was even birthed there in that stuff. But I love it.
You'll there's some episodes, and how far? You said 2 episodes?
2.
So you saw the glass box, which was spooky, eerie, creepy.
It was as Twin Peaks as it needed to be.
There's way more graphic and horrific things that happen on screen in front of your face. No, like, cheesy, gimmicky cutaways and then
Yeah.
cut back to something brutal. Like, brutality just happens.
Somebody wrote an article that I only saw the headline of because I don't want to spoil too much what's ahead of me. And they said how the article title basically was like how Twin Peaks: The Return redefines violence as art, basically. So how they do their violence in this show kind of is a part of the show itself and its quirks, and
there's a purpose to it.
it's not just violence for violence's sake. It's violence to help be a part of the story.
There's some great violence, but there's also some just great lighthearted moments that happen between characters that are just the best interactions.
Can I just go back to Game of Thrones for 1 second and say how excited I am, based on what we saw this week, to see Gendry swing that big old hammer around?
That was
Holy
exciting for me
crap,
too.
That little moment in that scene there was efficient, but brutal.
Oh yeah, just the makeup effects on the guy's like temple and then like smash right in the face.
Straight up double kill.
Yep. Stuff like that happens in Twin Peaks too, just out of the blue. For some reason, there's this crazy. I'm sure Bracho's seen it. The homeless people, the hobos.
Yeah, the miners.
Yeah, the miners that encave people's faces, just implode them.
I've heard.
There's some great sound effects, sound design with what happens there. It's Oberyn all over again.
Oh god.
Fuck.
You almost had him.
You were levitating,
He had more
being
guns
held
than
aloft by the amount of bullets being shot into.
Wow, we lost all of our points.
And I heard that Showtime doesn't want to do another season after this either of Twin
Really?
Peaks. Unfortunately.
I suppose it hasn't been the biggest rating getter.
I'm just happy to see all these actors that want to be a part of the show.
Right?
Mhm.
So many crazy good actors are just wanting to be in it. Suckle a faggot, little daggle.
We're getting working on season 1 of that show.
Oh yeah?
They just announced some casting today.
Did you watch the new DuckTales? Ooh.
No, I want to.
Did you?
Yeah,
I wasn't.
I enjoyed it. I'm liking the
Fucking cocktail.
David Tennant as Scrooge.
Scrooge, yeah.
That's great. I didn't know that going in. I was like, wait,
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that voice.
And it's like,
He's a perfect Scrooge. Like, he sounds like Scrooge in his normal voice.
It's
the nephews are Danny Putty, right?
Putty.
Bobby Moynihan and
Moans.
John Ralphio, isn't it? Yeah, it was John Ralphio.
yeah, pretty sure.
And they all have now more distinct characteristics. And they're not just like 3 voices and like a one presumed body.
Yeah.
Like, they all like have their own little tweaks to their personality.
I think that they're trying to be more true to how they were in the like
Lin-Manuel
comics,
Miranda
Huey,
is
Dewey, and Louie were
Gizmo
definitely
Duck.
like.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
What?
Lin-Manuel Miranda from
Hamilton
Hamilton is Gizmo
and
Duck.
Moana.
I don't know who that is.
He's the guy on the Critical Rollers talk about all the time that they want as a guest on their show. Like, oh man, we should get Lin Miranda on here because he played D&D once.
Show me. You must know. I'm using
They reference his show all the time in that show.
I'm using Google Broad right now.
Google Brav.
I
That
ask him a question and
sounds
he
Russian.
Googles it and
Going
tells
to
me.
use Google Brav.
Can I get a voice, please? See?
Can I get a voice, please?
It's efficient. Brings me the results I need.
You should get one of
It
those
brought up
Alexas.
images right away. It knew I wanted to see somebody, not
We should
see
make
a name.
we should make like an Alexa type machine, but instead it's like a beer bottle. We call it the Broad Show, and he's just like, "Hey, Broad Show," and he's like, "Saw dude."
I started.
Play some Lin-Manuel Miranda, whatever. Oh, SNL, good choice, Broad Show.
Yeah, I was thinking the
Broad
same
Show
thing.
bot.
Google Broad really came through.
Wow.
Broad Show bot, thank you. No problem, dude. Are you driving, Sean?
I think I can genuinely say I have never seen this man before. So I don't. There's nowhere for me to recognize him from. It's my first exposure.
Well, now you have to rewatch a lot of those episodes of Critical Role and look at their references because they do the raps from the Hamilton show. They have a Twitter roundabout kind of tagging of different songs of the Hamilton show that they sing or rap or do whatever. And they just want him to be on the show because he's done Dungeons and Dragons before and he's into it, but I don't know.
They have some good guests. So I'll say.
Oh,
that.
they do. They do. They do,
Yeah,
sure
I
do.
was just on Game Grumps.
Yeah, because they're making that movie.
What?
They're making a movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's a YouTube Red like production.
Oh,
That
I know
they're
they're
doing.
doing a TV show too.
It's I think what I saw was a trailer for a movie. Just search. I can find it. I think.
I saw one where it was Cersei standing on that map of Westeros, but instead it was Car City, like the the carpet. Oh,
Someday I'll own it all.
and she was standing on the hospital. There's so many good ones. There's so many funny memes. I follow Game of Thrones posts on Instagram. They have some great ones. Just gems. Well, with that said, are you done transferring? All right, I'll wait till you're done with this match.
I'm having trouble finding it, but I know that I watched it.
Stay on there.